I don't know how we're going to overcome that last segment. That was so exciting. I mean, what do you think about that, Brian?
What a good time, I mean, that's not basically, but that's one of the reasons I'm over here. It's like in traditional real estate, you just get bored sometimes. You're out there, you've taken all the pictures, you've held all the open
You're
houses,
waiting on somebody to click the button in the MLS.
and all I can do is go, Mr. and Miss Seller, let's lower the price again. Let's lower because we're not getting any traction. You come to an auction, you bring an auction to the house. Oh my gosh, it's just exciting.
This is the most exciting business they've ever been in. So what we're going to talk about now is we're going to start talking about terms and conditions of the sale.
Okay.
You know what? And this is very important, and we've mentioned this through this segment right here is about the terms and conditions, and what are the documents. When you go online, Dan, I tell you what, we got a great producer, and Dan says, you know what, let's flash this up on the screen so people can see the terms and conditions of sale.
Yep.
Clarity, transparency, and how do we get that? We get that in the terms and conditions of the sale. Because what we're doing, Brian, and this is what I've practiced for 25 years,
Right.
just tell the people what you're doing.
Right. But they have to take it on themselves to read what we're doing.
You're exactly right. Now, this is one of the biggest things when it comes. They think auctioneers have a lot of secrets.
Right.
And we're going to do a segment here in the future, and that's going to be our next.
Hey, I'll be honest. I was scared. I mean, I had the opportunity to attend a couple of auctions when I was doing traditional real estate, and I was, is the auctioneer going to pay me? What do we do? I'm not sure about this, not sure about that, but.
And it goes deeper than that. It goes deeper than that about what is the auctioneer's secret?
Right.
What is the auctioneer doing behind the scenes?
Right.
Are they juicing me over here?
Right.
Or
do they have other bidders there?
And you know what? You talk about transparency.
Right.
Yes, we got other bidders.
Yeah.
This is one of the coolest thing right here is we have other bidders.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what we do? We say, here they are. Here's the other bidders.
You know who they are.
And if you get online
right.
in a webcast, a simulcast, you go to one of our live auctions, you can see the other bidders standing there.
Right.
Yes. You know what? Let's talk about this as cutting edge, right? Well, this is cutting edge in 2004. When the internet come along, people started bidding on the internet. What do we have before that? We have telephone bidders. Oh, well. Okay, well, the auctioneer has a telephone bidder. Yeah, I got a telephone bidder because I want to sell the property today.
Right.
We're going to take them. We've took beds by fax. We've took in. Make no mistake, our goal is to sell that piece of property. Our goal is to get online right here to find a buyer online.
What do you say to people sometimes? Let's say I'm a new person coming in an auction. I'm thinking maybe the auctioneer's got this rigged. Maybe they're going, hey, do they really have a bidder? Do they not?
I want to ask you a question. Now, you've been in this.
Okay.
If we've got it rigged, how do we get paid?
You don't. You don't.
What are we in the business to do?
You're in it to sell it.
We're in it to sell it.
Yeah.
Now, I'm gonna flip this just a little bit.
Okay.
What if there was a situation that happened that you got a influx of offers and all the offers was covered here on the desk?
Multiple offers.
Oh, that's called multiple offer situations, right?
That's right.
Well, has that ever happened?
Yes, I had 21 offers come in one time on one offer on one property. Yeah.
So I talk to real estate agents all the time.
Yeah.
And they're like, okay, yeah, we had all these offers and we had this and we had that. It's great for the seller. Who is it not so great for?
The buyer.
Well, who does it take to purchase the property?
Who does it take? It takes a buyer.
It takes a buyer to purchase.
Buyer's got all the money. They're coming with the money.
The buyer's going to come with the money. So make no mistake, the seller is there to sell, the buyer's there to buy. But if you exclude those buyers because they're unsure. Now, this is how this segment started.
That's right.
You're unsure of things. You're unsure of the auction business.
Yeah,
You're scared of the auctioneer because the auctioneer's got all these secrets. Well, let me tell you what. The secrets are exposed when we start the auction. Now, think about this. You got multiple offers where you've got a lot of secrets. Who's it a secret to?
The buyer.
Exactly. So if a buyer wanted to make another offer, is there an easy process to do that in multiple offer situations?
Sometimes you only get one shot in a multiple offer situation. Sometimes they'll come back and say, hey, I need your highest and best by 5 o'clock tomorrow. But a lot of times, if I have 21 offers sitting there and I have 3 of them that are cash, I'm throwing the rest of them out the door. I'm looking for proof of funds, and I'm going with the highest bid.
Why would you ever throw all the offers out the door without going to each one of these people and asking?
Because I have a seller ready to sell right there.
But you've got a seller ready to sell, okay? Now
Yeah.
listen, I mean, you know what? Come at me with this. This is
All right.
I love this part right here. You have a seller ready to sell,
Right.
and the seller's ready to accept one of those offers, right?
Right.
What if somebody behind door number 2 was ready to pay another $10,000?
I think sometimes in the real estate, and I don't want to throw a bunch of realtors under the bus, you're just ready to get the deal done, and you're ready to get the money in your pocket, and you're ready to get the seller sold, and you don't take the time to go back and say, hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's do that. And a lot of agents probably have been scared in the past and said, hey, we're shopping contracts. Well, what are you there to do? You're
Who
supposed
do you represent?
The seller.
You represent the seller to get the highest and best
That's
price,
exactly
right?
right.
So why stop?
I think we're scared sometimes. I think agents are scared sometimes that they might all go away, and we better grab it
So
while
they
we
want to
got
run
it.
a bunch of people out. So now let's transition. Let's
All right.
transition right here.
All right.
And this is what auctions are about. There's a lot of myths about auctions, and we're going to talk about myths. You know, this next segment, we just talk about myths about auctions. But right now, the myth about an auction is like, well, number one, people are scared and they're not educated and they don't know,
Right.
whatever.
It's got to be all cash.
It's got to be all cash,
Yeah.
all these other kind of things. But
Yeah.
what if?
Right.
What if the seller hired an auctioneer when you had 21 offers? Now, let me put this in shape for you, okay? Now, not only could we bring this back out to the public, we could invite all 21 people in this room. We can say, hey, show up down at the attorney's office or at the title company. Just pick a spot. We don't care. Okay? The auctioneer is going to be there with the black hat and big gavel ready to take care of business.
That's right.
10 to business is what my good buddy Chris
10 to business.
10 to business. We're going to come 10 to business is what he'd say. All right?
All right.
10 into business. So what the auctioneer is going to do is look at every one of those offers and invite everyone back into the deal. All right? So in the multiple offer situations, did you ever have contingencies in the highest offer?
We did.
Oh.
And let me tell you what we saw, Myers, a lot of times, even just on my listings, and I've noticed it a lot of times on the other, when I was representing the buyer even, the people that won the bid or the offer, okay, they would always terminate.
They terminate.
I bet it was better than 50%. So I always told my buyers, let them terminate, because they were just playing a game. They just decided, hey, we don't want to buy this.
Well, you just went through this entire process, Brian. You had 21 offers, and you picked a buyer that terminated.
Right.
Why would you do that? Why would you allow your seller to do that?
That was the toughest part about having 21 offers. Who's the real player here? Who do you know is the real player?
Now, this is what my granddaddy used to say.
Yeah.
Now let's get down to the nitty gritty.
That's right. That's right.
An auctioneer don't let that bunch of go on.
Right.
Okay?
Exactly.
All right?
Exactly.
So imagine you have 21 offers. The seller wants to know who is not only the highest price, but who is willing to attend to the best contract terms. I'm going to tell you what right here. This is what we're doing. Now, let's put this into context. We have the documents. We're disclosing to everybody, this is the rules of the game, everybody. This is the rules of the game. We've got it laid out right here. We need to know what you're willing to pay.
That's right.
Just as Nui just so eloquently demonstrated with selling the pen, I come in as the auctioneer and I create demonstration of value with money.
That's right.
All right? So now, here's your 21 offers, and I can come in there and I can say, hey, you know what, everybody? Let's let everybody play. 300, 325, 50, 75. I got 400, 1,000, 4 1/4, half, 75, $500,000, Brian. Hey, you know what? We got 21 offers on the table, but all of them are out. All of them are out except the $500,000 offer, Brian. You're representing a buyer. Does your buyer want to get back in?
Yes.
At that point right there, we are letting, you know why that we know that your buyer's credible? Because maybe we've done just a little bit more than the proverbial proof of funds.
Right. You've seen the proof of funds.
You know what really qualifies someone in this situation?
What's that, Myers?
One of the rules that we put up and say, hey, you got to put up a substantial amount of money.
That's right.
You got to put up, let's just say 15 to 20%. I've seen as high as 30%.
Wow.
Let's just use 20%. If you have a buyer that comes in that says, hey guys, I've got me a cashier's check. You've got a house for $100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Let the people figure out what it's actually going to be worth in that demonstration of value, but that buyer thinks, I think I'm going to bid $100,000 a day. I mean, $500,000. I got to bring 20%. Mm-hmm. And here's my $100,000. Look straight at the auctioneer and say, hey, here is my $100,000 and I'm willing to write this contract and I'm willing to close. And you know what? If I don't close, you can keep the money.
Hey, that's pretty strong right there.
Now, would you take somebody out of the pile just because they had more money in the pile?
Sometimes they want you to. They'd say, hey, but we'll pay more, you know?
So if they want to pay more,
but there's that 50% chance they're not going to come to the closing
they may not come to the closing table.
That's right.
So once again, here comes the auctioneer that says, hey, I got 500 and I got the person that's willing to put up 100,000.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, how about do I have anybody here that's going to pay 510, 520, 530, 540? Mm-hmm. And it stops at, somebody says, I'll give you 525. Okay, great. 525, 530,000, 530,000, and nobody does anything.
Right.
That means you've identified, number one, that this buyer is going to pay attention to the terms and conditions of the sale.
That's right.
Number two, they have the money. Number three, they've just outbid everybody in a transparent situation. Mm-hmm. So transparent. Why would any seller, this is my question right here today, Brian, you can answer it however you like.
All right.
Why would any seller, why would any real estate agent that represents a seller not want to use the auction process to sell a piece of real property?
It makes 100%. You know, it's there.
It's there.
It's there. I mean, there's no question. I mean, once I learned about this, once I knew the process, it took away the option periods. It took away the financing condition addendums. It took away the negotiating for repairs, you know?
Well, you said something a while ago.
Yeah.
Is it all cash? Listen, we don't care where people get their money from.
No.
You know, anywhere legal and ethical that you can get your money, bring him. You can buy it. I always say this. You can borrow it from Uncle Russell, Aunt Ruth, because Aunt Ruth wasn't fixing to loan you no money.
Right. But Grandma will.
Yeah,
Grandma might.
You
Grandma
can go down
might.
to
Yeah.
the lender. That's okay. As long as you do what you promise and you bring the balance of the cash to closing. Mm-hmm. You can get the money from anywhere that you can get it from, okay? Mm-hmm. That's a misnomer. That is a myth about, you know, not having all. Can you inspect?
Yes.
Of course you can inspect. You just have to inspect prior to.
Right. And you can even inspect after if you want to.
What about an appraisal? Can you get an appraisal?
Sure.
Sure, you can get an appraisal. We want you to know what
it's
the
just
property is.
not contingent upon that appraisal.
It's just not contingent.
Yeah,
You know what? Get an appraisal before you bid.
That's right.
You know what? We just sold a house the other day. It come in. There was an appraisal done. Come in at $950,000, and the people bought the house for around $700,000.
So can you get a good deal at an auction?
Can you get a good deal at an auction?
Yeah.
And you know what? The seller was like, sell it.
Yeah.
Seller was like, sell it.
Yeah.
So
because we know what everything else is doing. It's just sitting there looking
closing out.
Yeah.
Closing out. You have been doing this for 35 years. Knowing what you know now after working in the auction industry, what would you tell a real estate agent if they was interested in learning more, being involved, or just getting involved in this process?
I would have them come check us out, come up to the office here, watch us work. Come
Webcast Wednesday. Come in here on Webcast Wednesday.
Webcast
Everybody's invited.
Wednesday. Even log in. If you don't want to even come out, you can log in. You can watch what happens on Webcast Wednesday. Come out to one of our live events. Really, that's where you really feel it, and you're like, that's where I got hooked on it. I mean, there's a rush.
And on top of that, I teach a course called How to Survive a Real Property Auction.
It's a great course.
That. But you get a rush, right?
You get a rush. I mean, it's a rush, and I'm like, now I know why Myers does this. This is just, it's almost like a performer going in to perform, but you got something that happens. There's a magic in the auction that you don't get anywhere else, but you feel it. You can feel the electricity in the air when the bids start flying, when the ringmen start yelling, and people get caught up in it. And if you're a seller, and even if you're a listing agent buyer, this is what you need to do with your house.
You know what?
It's plan B. Make it plan A. I mean, it's unbelievable.
So we're going to end this segment. This has been a great segment.
Yes, it has.
The next segment, we're going to talk about that. Magic and myths. Magic and myths in the auction industry. Make no mistake, they're both on both sides. We're going to talk about a little bit about how auctions have helped solve some of the world's most complex problem in our next segment. Tune in. Brian and Newey, I appreciate y'all being here today on
Thank you, Myers.
Real Property, Reel Auctioneers.
Yes, sir.